Okay, so this is my review of the highly anticipated Breaking Bad movie, El Camino. Now, here's my thing. First off, is that I am someone who is never that excited when I hear about a TV show becoming a movie. I never get why people get so excited about this fascination with it. I mean, this goes just back even to like the Entourage movie where people go, oh wow, they're going to do a movie of it. But it's one of those things where I'm always like, well, technically it's just a long episode of the show, and usually the show just works great as a show, and that's what makes it so special. Then when you transfer it to a movie, it always just inevitably feels like just 2 episodes of the show, and this clearly felt like that a lot, and just kind of like an epilogue, but it did not feel like a movie. So that was disappointing in the sense that I was excited to see what Vince Gilligan could do here. Vince Gilligan is one of those people that, with him directing and writing it, I'm always trusting him. I don't ever think he gyps his audience, and I think if he's going to do something, he knows it's going to be good, or otherwise he won't do it. But the case here was, I thought he would give us what a Breaking Bad movie would be, where it feels like a movie, that it's a little more intense, and it kind of just felt like 2 extended bonus episodes of Breaking Bad, just focusing on Jesse's part of the story. And unfortunately, this was the first time I felt like, oh no, like Vince Gilligan's the one creator I trust always not to sell his soul at all, but this did feel a little bit like a money grab, and that is unfortunate, and I have a couple of reasons for that. So first off, you're seeing in this movie things that is uncharacteristic of anything in the Breaking Bad universe, where they always do a good job of not doing something cheesy or corny or you roll your eyes. First off, seeing Todd in these flashbacks and him looking like a completely different person, the actors, his whole appearance is different now. He looks like a completely different person from the Todd we knew, which you can kind of get away with if you hide him a bit or just show him a little bit, but to have him as a main player in this movie was really distracting and takes me out of it. And some people say, oh, they're fine with it, they got used to it, but for the standards of this Breaking Bad universe, they don't do gimmicky stuff like that, and this just felt like, wow, this is asking a lot of the audience to just kind of go with. That also goes to when you get the reveal of Walter White, which was expected. It was going to be in a flashback. I was sure that was the safest route. It made sense. But you got Bryan Cranston wearing this ridiculous bald cap, and it's like making his head look like a cone head. I'm like, what the hell? Like, how did Vince even go through with that? That annoyed me as well, and I get it's still in the TV realm, so they don't have as much time to prepare for it. They probably are getting these actors last minute for certain scenes, but don't do it then. So that's where it feels like a money grab to me, where you're like, all right, we'll still just push through with it and get this done. And that was frustrating. So I'm usually not someone who complains about when they extend stories or try to make prequels. I get it. And people who love a universe want to see more and understand that. But Better Call Saul, to me, has always felt like it's still its own thing, and it's earned it, and I haven't feel gypped, but this feels like it's not its own thing. It feels like an extension of Breaking Bad. Yes, it's a Breaking Bad movie, but it doesn't keep the high standards of Breaking Bad. So that's where it feels like it's just a poor man's version of it, and that's really disappointing. Not saying this was all bad, though. So basically, I think that obviously the goal of Jesse's story here, from the end of Breaking Bad where we saw him to now, is that his whole arc in Breaking Bad is, this is a guy who, he's not always in control of his life, really, ever. And this was angling that this would be the film that gets him his closure there, where he finally takes control of his life. It's something Jesse's never been able to do. And that's shown with the flashback at the end where he's with Jane, and that was a nice moment. And then him driving off into the snow in Alaska was really nice, because it just had great symmetry with the end of Breaking Bad, where Jesse's driving off into the desert, and it's a totally different situation. But it still even felt a little cheesy. Just the white turtleneck almost was just like corny, and it was a little too on the nose. I get they love using their color themes here, but it was like, all right, when he was coming out of the truck with the white on fine, I was like, come on, we've seen this in so many shows, and it's not as clever as it thinks it is. So that kind of felt like a step off for Gilligan there. And then when it comes to Aaron Paul, I thought he did really well here. I saw some people actually criticizing his acting at Jesse's younger ages, but I thought he nailed it, especially in the diner scene where Jesse was still a goofball and just eating the food hysterically. I thought that scene worked with Walter White, but it still was just like a fan service moment, especially with them walking down the hallway, which I always talk about meme bait. There you go. There's your meme bait for this movie, where people share that picture and like, I got chills, or this was amazing. But really, was it? Like, what was what was that scene actually really doing? Was it necessary? No, it wasn't. It was the reason to get Walter White in a flashback. And sure, you had a line in with Walter White saying how he wishes he was like Jesse, where he got to do what he loved at an earlier age, but it's like, oh, cool. So it's just confirming that. But we knew that. You know, that's not great TV or film, whatever you want to call it. Like, these are things the audience can make on their own, and just having it served to us here was kind of like, eh. And that's the whole thing about this movie, is it's kind of what you predicted in your head, just thinking about what this movie would be about and where Jesse's story might go. To me, it was safe. The shootout scene, that was the Western thing. Again, a little cheesy. It was cool, but even the character here from KD Welding they introduce, he was a little over the top and cartoony as well. So, I don't know. I wasn't feeling it, to be honest. I mean, it just felt extra slow at parts, especially the first hour. I was kind of like, what am I watching here? It looked really nice. The cinematography was great. Like, the scenes with the overhead shots of the apartment was really brilliant with the cinematography there. Props to that. But, man, they were at that apartment for a long time with Jesse. And even the flashbacks with Todd were long. And it was way too much Todd screen time. He's got comic relief to his character. He's a psychopath. Yeah, it's funny seeing him singing a happy song when he's driving to go bury a dead body, or saying that he wanted to say words for the cleaning lady. Great, but it's just replaying notes you've seen before with these characters. It was just giving people what they wanted to see with seeing characters again, but I just thought it would be a stronger story and giving super justification of why we're here again, and it did not feel that way. That is what really upsets me here. And there's like parts too where, wait a minute, in this universe they're always good with character consistency and believable points and transitions, and how they go from one just character we know and grow and evolve to another, or they go the other way. But Jesse was introduced in this movie as someone who was obviously seriously under serious trauma, being in a cage and tortured, and acting that way in the beginning at Skinny Pete's place, and he's looking up and he's imagining being in that cage again, and that was very realistic of what someone would be going through. But all of a sudden, he shaves and takes a shower, and that stuff's kind of gone. Jesse's kind of got his composure really fast in this movie, and that's another problem with shows that are good with developing characters and convincing arcs. Movies, you can't really do that as well, and that suffered here because it was just like, oh wow, this was a quick flip for Jesse in 2 hours. So as a Breaking Bad fan, that also was disappointing, and that's what's going to inevitably happen if you start making movies like this. So I don't think it was totally earned with Jesse coming full circle at the end and being this more almost awakened version of himself and taking control of his life, where, I mean, just a couple days ago, he's just someone full of trauma here and going through that stuff. So it was a lot, again, to just have us believe here. It was nice the beginning with Skinny Pete and Badger. I thought that worked well. I thought that was a little more interesting. It was more funny, too. It was a nice touch with Skinny Pete, where he said that Jesse was his hero. Cool, worked. But again, that middle part here, that half-hour mark we got to in the movie to the hour and a half was, snooze fest, man. And I wasn't at the edge of my seat at all until that little showdown with the Western gun point thing. But even that, I was like, eh. And it was promoted, this movie, like it would be kind of this car chase thing and a little more intense. Even the beginning, it starts that way, and he's like, I gotta get rid of this car. But it's really not that much about the car, the El Camino. And it was kind of weird that they set up Skinny Pete in it and we don't see him again with the car, or what happened to him and Badger. I thought that was odd. Yeah, it didn't feel as much of an effort was put into this as I thought it would be, especially of how long we've waited, and Vince Gilligan's hinted about this. So again, there's funny moments. I mean, I thought the funniest part was Todd seeing his bedroom, and he has a snow globe model of him with Lydia and his obsession with her. That was great. But if I'm watching something from a universe and a standard of a creator, director, writer, I'm just not used to Vince Gilligan having things happen where, again, Jesse Plemons is clearly not in the physical realm of being the Todd he once was. So that is just absurd to me. They kept with that, and same with the bald cap with Walter. And you could say it's nitpicking, whatever, but no, this is Breaking Bad. This is not supposed to be like that. This isn't one of those shows, and that's just incredibly disappointing to me. I don't come to the show for any of that. I don't want to see anything that's a cheat like that, and that started happening here. So, yeah, and I just didn't feel high stakes in this at all. And it was just kind of cut and dry here where it started, where it got. It was a simpler story than you might have expected. And even the Easter eggs, you can watch those videos on YouTube. They're everywhere. They're okay. You know, they're not crazy good. And, you know, it's nice they had the frames in the office of Hank and his partner. That was cool. It was cool to see that, you know, the chicken place was shut down. Those were nice. But everything else was like, okay, cool, nice, whatever. Let's shove in Walter White in flashbacks. Let's do mostly flashbacks. And just felt thin. So for me, I'm going to say, from being a huge fan of Breaking Bad and also a supporter of Better Call Saul and really enjoying that and covering that show, this is the first actual clear disappointment for me from the Vince Gilligan brain trust here in his universe. It's the first thing in the Breaking Bad universe I actually just didn't really like. So as a Netflix movie, it's better than a lot of Netflix movies, and sure, if you love Breaking Bad, give it a watch. But otherwise, I don't know. I think it ended with that feeling I was afraid of, where it was like, was this necessary? And it wasn't. It just was not. It was fan fiction, and you can say it wasn't, but it was, and that's the disappointment there. So I'm giving this one a 7.7. Let me know what you thought of this one down below. Maybe you loved it. I've seen a lot of debate about this. A lot of people don't like it at all. I see people praising it too high. I see people destroying it, unrightfully so, because they had such high expectations. I just think it's more of a middle of like, and I don't want to watch it again, and it's just disappointing, again, because of the stakes of this show. So, yeah, 7.7 for me. Let me know. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on this. I read every comment, try to respond as many as I can. Please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss one of my reviews of TVs, movies. I also do celebrity interviews as well, so you don't want to miss that. And follow me at Steve Varley1 on Twitter and Instagram for more of me. And I'll see you next time.